Everyone. Welcome back to our little corner of calm English conversation. Hello everyone. Welcome back to our little corner of calm English conversation. Today I want to do something simple and close to home. I'll read a short, very ordinary story, and then Raphael and I will unpack it together. Ready? Here it is. Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about my day. I woke up early in the morning and got ready. After brushing my teeth, I had breakfast. Then I started my work and stayed busy for a few hours. In the afternoon, I took a short break and had lunch. After that, I continued my work. In the evening, I spent some time with my family. We talked and relaxed together. At night, I practiced my English and prepared for sleep. I felt thankful for my day. Thank you for listening. See you next time. So that's our tiny story.
Nice and simple. I like it. There's so much packed into those few lines. Even that short narrative maps a full day. Morning, work blocks, break, family time, learning, and gratitude. It's an ideal template to explore how routines shape mood and health.
Practiced my English and prepared for sleep. I felt thankful for my day. Thank you for listening. See you next time. So that's our tiny story.
Nice and simple. I like it. There's so much packed into those few lines. Even that short narrative maps a full day. Morning, work blocks, break, family time, learning, and gratitude. It's an ideal template to explore how routines shape mood and health.
Exactly, Raphael. By the way, I love how ordinary it sounds. People sometimes think only big events are worth talking about, but as we'll discuss, ordinary days really matter. Shall we start by talking about the morning?
Yes, let's. So, the narrator woke up early and got ready. That's a great place to start. There are a few angles here. Chronotypes, why people choose early rising, and the role of regular sleep. The source material mentions chronotypes. Roughly 40% are morning types, 30% evening types, and the rest in between. That matters when we talk about whether waking early is helpful or harmful.
Right. That 40 and 30 split always surprises some of my students. I often ask them, are you a morning person or a night owl? And they laugh because it's different for everyone. But what I remind them, and what I tell my learners, is that the key isn't heroically waking at 5 a.m. It's consistent sleep and enough hours. You need that 7 to 9 hours for most adults.
Exactly. The research we're drawing on says the health benefit comes from regular, sufficient sleep rather than the specific label of early bird. Forcing a natural night owl to be a lark can reduce sleep quality. So the practical tip is discover your rhythm and aim for consistency. That reduces stress and supports mood.
I love that practical framing. Also, small morning rituals matter. In the story, the person brushed their teeth. Simple hygiene, right? But brushing twice a day for 2 minutes with fluoride and daily interdental cleaning is what dentists recommend. It's more than habit. Oral health links to broader health outcomes.
Yeah, that connection is often surprising. Poor oral hygiene can contribute to chronic inflammation and is associated with cardiovascular risks. So that 2-minute ritual is not trivial. It's part of taking care of your whole self. And rituals, big or tiny, cue the brain that the day is starting. Micro signals that help transition from sleep to activity.
Ooh, micro signals. I use that phrase with learners. You can habit stack too. Like while you brush your teeth, you can say a quick English sentence to yourself or repeat a short phrase. It helps link a new habit to an established one. Small, and it adds up.
Absolutely. And that leads us to breakfast. The narrator had breakfast. Classic line. But breakfast is a debated topic.
Historically, it was promoted a lot by cereal companies, and modern studies are mixed. Some observational work ties skipping breakfast to higher body weight, but causal interpretations are tricky.
Yeah, so by the way, listeners, if you like breakfast, great. If you don't, that's okay too. The important part is balanced choices. Protein, fiber, not just sugary cereal. And for language learners, breakfast time can be a gentle chance to practice listening. A short podcast while you eat, perhaps.
Good point. And one more thing about mornings. Productivity stories often praise the 5 a.m. club, but that can be unrealistic. The evidence suggests most people can do about 3-4 hours of truly deep, focused work per day. So it's less about being awake very early and more about protecting your high-quality focus time.
Good point. And one more thing about Raphael. When the narrator says, "I started my work and stayed busy for a few hours," how do we separate being busy from being productive?
Great question, Emma. Psychology makes a clear distinction. Busy is activity. Productive is moving toward important goals. One useful framework is the Eisenhower matrix, urgent versus important. People often react to urgent tasks and neglect important but non-urgent work like planning or learning. Busy can feel good because it looks like progress, but real impact usually comes from prioritizing those important tasks.
Right, urgency culture. I've seen that with language learners too. They cram vocabulary, answer emails, but rarely schedule deliberate practice. By the way, Cal Newport's deep work concept fits well here. Longer, uninterrupted focus is valuable, but as you said, 3 to 4 hours is often the realistic maximum.
Yes, and interruptions matter. Modern workdays are fragmented by emails, messages, meetings. That fragmentation reduces the chance for deep work. So one tip is to create protected blocks for focus tasks and to schedule lighter administrative work during the less focused parts of the day.
Now the narrator takes a short break and had lunch in the afternoon. That feels like a small pause. But Raphael, you mentioned studies showing breaks help attention. Can you say more?
Of course. Attention and vigilance degrade without rest. Short breaks restore focus and reduce mental fatigue. The Pomodoro technique, work for 25 minutes, break 5 minutes, mirrors this idea. There's no universal perfect schedule, but the general idea is to alternate concentrated effort with short movement or rest to sustain productivity.
And movement matters. Even short walks reduce blood sugar spikes and improve circulation. I tell my learners, stand up, move, speak aloud to yourself in English during a 5-minute break. It wakes the body and the language muscles.
Yes, sitting all day is linked to higher health risks, especially if you don't exercise. Breaking up sitting time with short activity is a small habit with measurable benefits. Also, lunch choices affect the afternoon. Heavy, high-fat, or sugary meals can cause that post-meals lump.
I've seen 2 student stories in my head while you were talking. One eats a heavy lunch and falls into a 2 p.m. crash. Another takes a 10-minute walk and eats a protein-rich meal and feels steady. What I like about the original narrator is that they continued their work after lunch. They kept going, but likely with some strategies to manage energy.
Yes, and there's also the circadian dip in early afternoon for many people, roughly 1 to 3 p.m. That natural lull combined with decision fatigue can make later work harder. Decision fatigue is real. As people make many decisions, the quality of later choices drops. That's why some people schedule creative work in the morning and simpler tasks later.
So here's a practical question for you, Raphael. What do you suggest for someone who has to do creative work in the afternoon because their schedule is fixed?
Good question, Emma. If your schedule forces creative tasks in the afternoon, try to protect short naps of 10-20 minutes if possible. They can boost alertness without deep sleep grogginess. If naps aren't possible, use brief physical activity, light exposure, and small structured breaks. Also, consider splitting creative work into smaller 25-40-minute sessions to align with natural attention spans.
Great. Okay, moving toward evening. The narrator says, "In the evening, I spent some time with my family. We talked and relaxed together." That line opens a lot of doors about social connection. Raphael, what's the research say about family time and health?
Social support is strongly linked to better mental health and even longevity. People with strong social ties tend to have lower mortality risk compared to those who are socially isolated. But it's the quality of interactions that counts. Active conversation and emotional support are more beneficial than merely being in the same room watching TV.
Yes, quality over quantity. I like to encourage simple evening rituals, family dinners, a daily check-in where each person shares one good thing and one challenge from their day. Those rituals build a sense of identity and stability, and they're great for language practice too. Conversation, real and spontaneous.
Exactly. Rituals create predictable structure and strengthen relationships. Research on family meals shows associations with better nutrition and stronger parent-child communication. Also, actively listening, putting phones away during talks, improves the sense of connection.
Oh, phones, yes. I always say to students, if you want real practice, try a phone-free dinner once a week and speak only in English for 5 minutes about your day. It's challenging but powerful. Sometimes learners feel shy, but it's a safe space.
And for listeners who live alone, the evening family time might be phone calls, video chats, or chosen community activities. Social connection can be found in many forms, and building it intentionally helps counteract loneliness and improves resilience.
Right. Now the narrator practices English at night. I love this part because it shows commitment. Raphael, what does the science say about adult language learning in the evening?
Right. Adult learners retain a lot through consistent practice. Adults may not acquire native-like accents as easily as children, but they have advantages in explicit learning strategies and motivation. Brain plasticity remains across the lifespan, and regular, spaced practice helps build the neural connections. Also, studying before sleep can help memory consolidation.
Yes, studying before sleep. I always tell my learners that a short 15-minute practice each night is often more effective than a long, irregular study session. Spaced repetition, shadowing, speaking with a partner, these are doable in small time windows. And emotionally, practicing at the end of the day is an act of self-care.
That's important. Language practice isn't just cognitive, it's emotional. Speaking in a new language can make adults feel vulnerable. Overcoming fear of mistakes is part of the journey. Regular small sessions at night can build confidence gradually.
And then they prepared for sleep. Sleep hygiene is crucial. Consistent schedule, limiting screens before bed, a cool, dark room. Those are all in our source material as well. Simple routines at night help with sleep quality and memory consolidation, especially for language learning.
Exactly. The CDC and sleep researchers recommend about 7 to 9 hours for most adults. Caffeine has a long half-life, around 5 hours, so late afternoon coffee can still affect some people's sleep. A wind-down routine like reading, gentle stretching, or journaling helps the brain prepare.
I often ask learners, before bed, can you name 3 things you're grateful for? It's quick, it's effective, and it's in our show material. Gratitude practices improve mood and life satisfaction. They don't erase problems, but they shift perspective.
Yes, gratitude interventions are well studied. Simple tasks like writing 3 things you're grateful for weekly can increase optimism and sometimes even physical activity.
Gratitude focuses attention on what's present rather than what's missing, and expressing it strengthens relationships.
So many listeners think gratitude is cheesy, but the research is solid. It doesn't mean ignoring struggles, it's about holding both. I might say, today was hard, but I'm thankful for a warm cup of tea and a good conversation. That balance matters. Okay, Raphael, let's do a quick walk through the day again, but this time with a few practical prompts listeners can try. Morning first. What's one simple change someone could make tomorrow morning?
One small change. Pick a consistent wake time that allows enough sleep. If you can't change your chronotype, pick a stable schedule and add one morning micro-ritual. Make the bed, brush teeth with purpose, or say one sentence in English in the mirror. Consistency reduces decision fatigue.
Nice. Midday. What about during work? A small habit to protect focus.
Try scheduling focused blocks of 60-90 minutes for your most important task and use short breaks between them. If 60-90 feels long, try the Pomodoro rhythm. Stand up, move every hour, and keep lunch balanced to avoid the post-lunch slump.
Evening, connect with someone intentionally. It could be 5 minutes of focused conversation or a family ritual. And for learners, try speaking in English for a short, low-stakes moment. A simple, "How was your day?" question and answer.
Night. Make study short and consistent. 15-30 minutes of targeted practice, then a wind-down routine. Avoid heavy screens right before bed, and allow time for reflection or gratitude to close the day.
I want to pause and ask you something, Raphael. The narrator finishes by saying, "I felt thankful for my day." Why is that an important endnote?
That closing line signals meaning-making. Telling a story where you felt thankful helps build a positive narrative identity. Positive psychology shows gratitude practices can increase life satisfaction. Ending the day with gratitude, even for ordinary things, anchors a sense of well-being.
Yes. Also, when learners practice telling their day in English, adding that emotional reflection is a great language exercise. I felt thankful uses past simple and emotion vocabulary. It's both language practice and a well-being habit.
Good point. Language and mental health can reinforce each other. Practicing a language becomes more rewarding when connected to meaningful reflection.
Now, let's be realistic and talk about obstacles. Many listeners juggle work, family, and study. What do we tell someone who is exhausted and cannot add another habit?
Start with compassion. The story is a model, not a rule. If you're exhausted, reduce expectations. 5 minutes of practice or a short walk is better than nothing. Prioritize sleep and one small habit that matters most to you. And adapt the routine to your context. Night shifts, caregiving, and long commutes require different approaches.
Yes, and in language learning, consistency beats intensity. If you can only manage a tiny practice, it's still progress. And connect practices to pleasure. Choose topics you enjoy, like songs or short stories, so it's less of a chore.
On cultural differences, our source points out that work schedules and family structures vary worldwide. Some countries have long midday breaks, others have short lunches. These patterns shape how a day feels, so adapt routines to local culture and personal life, not the other way around.
Also, if someone doesn't have family nearby, they can build connection in other ways. Phone calls, online communities, or local groups. Family can be chosen, not only biological.
Exactly.
Social ties come in many forms. Now, Emma, could you give an example prompt we might put in show notes for listeners to try tonight?
Sure, try this. Tonight, before sleep, write or say aloud 3 sentences about your day in English. 1. One thing you did in the morning. 2. One thing you did at work or study. 3. One thing you're thankful for. Keep it to 30-60 seconds. That's a tiny, doable practice.
I like that. Listeners can record themselves or say it to a partner. It practices past tense, daily vocabulary, and gratitude. And if they repeat it nightly, it becomes a habit that reinforces language learning and well-being.
Before we finish, Raphael, any quick myth-busting from our source material that would help listeners? Something short.
Yes, myth. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day as an absolute truth. That's been overstated. The reality is nuanced. Some benefit from breakfast, others do well with time-restricted eating. Focus on overall balanced nutrition and regular meals that work for you.
Good. And I'll add another short one. You must wake up at 5 a.m. to be successful. Nope. Consistency and protecting your best focus hours matter more than an early alarm. Okay, we're almost at the end.
Emma, quick closing reflection for listeners. What one small habit would you encourage them to try tomorrow morning?
I'd suggest habit stacking. Pick something you already do every morning, like brushing your teeth, and attach a 30-second English line to it. For example, while you brush, say, "Today I will." It's tiny, but it builds over time. It feels silly at first, but it works.
Great practical tip. For me, protect one focused hour during your day, even if it's only once per week to start, and use it for an important but not urgent task, like planning or language practice. Little pockets of priority add up.
Okay, let's bring it home. We began with a tiny story, a simple, ordinary day. We unpacked morning rhythms, hygiene, breakfast debates, work focus versus busyness, breaks, family connection, language practice, sleep hygiene, and gratitude. And we offered practical prompts.
Yes, and the core message is ordinary days contain the building blocks of well-being. You don't need drama to practice good habits. Consistency, small rituals, and social connection matter a lot.
Thanks so much, Raphael. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Try our little evening prompt tonight. 3 sentences about your day in English and see how it feels. It might be the start of something gentle and steady.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you, listeners. If this episode helped, remember, tiny changes, repeated, make a big difference. Take care and good night. Oh, and one more tiny note. Be kind.
Yes, be kind. See you next time. Thank you for listening.